For more than 30 years, one of the most valuable paintings in the world was not hidden in a vault. It was not locked in a bunker, and it was not smuggled through free ports or offshore warehouses. It hung quietly inside a small house in rural New Mexico, behind a bedroom door. Its owners were a retired couple, former educators. Neighbors later described them as polite, private, and ordinary. There was no criminal record, no sudden wealth, no obvious reason to suspect anything at all. And yet, when that door finally opened, it revealed a missing Willem de Kooning, a painting called Woman-Ochre, a painting stolen in 1985, a painting later valued at up to $160 million, a painting that should not have been there at all. On the morning of November 29, 1985, the University of Arizona Museum of Art in Tucson opened like any other day. The holiday weekend was quiet. The galleries were calm. Inside hung a painting by Willem de Kooning. Painted in 1954 and 1955, it was titled Woman-Ochre, an abstract portrait. Aggressive, uneasy, unmistakable. It had been donated to the museum decades earlier, and it was one of the institution's most important works. Shortly after opening, a man and a woman entered. According to the museum's account, the woman distracted a guard while the man went upstairs. Minutes later, the painting was gone. Not carefully removed, not unhooked. It had been cut from its frame. By the time staff realized what had happened, the pair had vanished into the day. No arrest, no solid leads. Only an empty space on the wall. The theft shocked the museum world. Paintings like Woman-Ochre do not simply vanish. They are too recognizable, too valuable, and too well documented. Investigators believed it would resurface. It didn't. Years passed, then decades. In theory, famous art is difficult to move. In practice, it disappears more easily than most people expect. Unlike cash or jewelry, a painting does not need to circulate. It only needs to exist somewhere quiet. In the 1980s, museums were especially vulnerable. Security systems were basic. Databases were fragmented. And once a case went cold, there were few tools to revive it. For Woman-Ochre, the problem was visibility. It was too famous to sell, too distinctive to display, and too valuable to destroy casually. That left only one option: silence. Over time, attention faded. Investigators moved on. Curators retired. The painting became a story people remembered, but no longer expected to solve. For almost 32 years, its whereabouts were unknown. Some believed it had been destroyed. Others assumed it was hidden in a private collection, waiting for a moment that would never come. By the early 2000s, the case was effectively frozen, until August 2017. In August 2017, Woman-Ochre reappeared at an estate sale in a small town called Cliff, New Mexico. An antiques dealer named David Van Auker and his partners bought items from the estate. Inside the home, there was a large abstract painting. It hung behind a bedroom door. At first glance, it looked damaged. Cut, reframed, aged. But something about it felt wrong, in the best possible way. Back at the shop, customers reportedly reacted to it immediately. It looked real. Van Auker compared it to images of the missing painting and contacted the University of Arizona Museum of Art. Museum staff traveled to New Mexico, And the moment they saw it, the story changed. Woman-Ochre had come home. The home belonged to Jerry and Rita Alter, a couple described in reporting as mild-mannered, private, and ordinary. They did not live like millionaires. They did not flash wealth. They did not attempt to sell the painting in their lifetime. And they did not tell anyone they had it. Which brings us to the central question. Did they steal it themselves, or did they acquire it later? There is no confession, no trial, no definitive answer. What we do know is this. The theft in 1985 involved a man and a woman working together. And Woman-Ochre spent decades inside their home, in a place where it could exist, but not be seen. When the painting was examined, its condition told part of the story. It had been cut from its frame, damaged during the theft and the years that followed. The canvas bore the marks of haste and concealment, evidence not just of removal, but of decades spent outside controlled conditions. After its recovery, the painting underwent extensive conservation work at the Getty. The goal was not to erase what had happened, but to stabilize what remained, to preserve the work without pretending it had never been stolen. In 2022, the restored painting went on view at the Getty Center in Los Angeles in an exhibition focused on its theft and recovery. The painting survived, but it had been altered by time, handling, and silence. Like many recovered works, it returned changed, forever carrying the history of what had been done to it. For years, the Alter case looked like a single, impossible coincidence. Then new information changed the shape of it. On March 20th, 1985, 2 paintings were stolen from the Harwood Museum of Art in Taos, New Mexico. Victor Higgins Aspen's, Joseph Henry Sharp's Oklahoma Cheyenne. The cases went cold. Then, in 2025, the FBI returned both paintings, and according to the University of Arizona Museum of Art, investigators determined that all 3 works, including Woman-Ochre, wound up in the same rural New Mexico home owned by Jerry and Rita Alter. 3 stolen paintings. Same year, same state. Whether the Alters stole all of them or obtained them through other means remains unproven. But the idea that this was a one-time accident became much harder to believe. When stolen art resurfaces after decades, the question is no longer just who took it. It becomes a question of time. Time erases urgency. It blurs responsibility. It turns crimes into history. As years pass, witnesses disappear. Records are lost, and legal consequences grow less certain. In cases like this, silence does more than conceal the object. It protects everyone around it. Institutions avoid uncomfortable questions. Heirs inherit ambiguity instead of guilt. And responsibility dissolves into uncertainty. By the time Woman-Ochre was recovered, the people who might have explained it were gone. No confession. No confrontation, no reckoning. The later discovery of 2 additional stolen paintings only deepened that pattern. Not resolution, but delay. And delay has a way of favoring those who say nothing. In the art world, time does not always reveal the truth. Sometimes it hides it. There are questions this story cannot answer. Did Jerry and Rita Alter commit the theft themselves? Did one of them know more than the other? Did they understand what they had? Or did they tell themselves a different story? And the most unsettling question of all, if 3 stolen paintings ended up in one quiet home, how many other works disappeared into ordinary lives, never to be found? How many thefts ended not with arrests, but with time? How many stories ended not with answers, but with silence? Some investigators and historians have suggested that not all art thefts are driven by money. For certain works, value itself becomes a problem. Too famous to sell, too recognizable to show. In those cases, possession replaces profit. The act is not about exchange, but about control. A painting becomes something to own privately, even if it must remain hidden. In this case, there was no dramatic arrest, no courtroom moment. There was no moment when the truth was spoken aloud. Just a door opening decades later, and a painting that should not have been there. In stories like this, the unanswered questions are not a flaw in the investigation. They are the outcome. When stolen art is recovered, people expect closure. This story offers none. The painting returned. The mystery remained. Jerry and Rita Alter took their answers with them. What remains is a reminder that extraordinary crimes do not always look extraordinary, that priceless objects can disappear into normal lives, and that sometimes history hides behind the most ordinary doors. If you want to keep exploring the quiet side of power, wealth, and secrecy, subscribe. This is the Lux Chronicles, and this was the stolen painting behind the door.